Stranded in the desert, the sun blazing overhead, and your water bottle is empty. You might think you're done, but the desert is full of hidden lifelines. Did you know that a prickly pear cactus could hydrate you? Or that mesquite could help you keep a fire going all night? Or that an agave could feed you for days? Today on Stellar Eureka, we're uncovering 10 desert plants that could be your lifeline in potentially fatal conditions. In 1785, the skies began to darken above central Mexico. Heavy rains began to fall, seedlings began to drown, and crops started rotting. As droughts dwindled food resources, the Spanish officers slumped their heads in disbelief, praying for God to deliver them from Año del Hambre, the year of the hunger. Accustomed to the arid climates and the shifting hand of fortune, the locals knew that salvation lay in one miraculous plant that never stoops in the face of extreme conditions: the prickly pear cactus. If water is the elixir of life, then Opuntia species are the desert's jewels, living water reservoirs wrapped in thorny bodies. Not only do their pads soak up water, but they are also harvestable all year round. The plant's flowers bloom in late spring, and its ripening fruits in the late summer signal the arrival of fall. 19th century cattle ranchers in the American Southwest and Mexico planted it around railway lines to restrict animal movement, which turned into a favorite of foragers. Cut the cactus in half and stir its flesh. It won't taste great, but half a pound provides the equivalent of a full glass of water. And in a survival scenario, that could mean the difference in securing the most precious resource in the desert: water. Prickly pear doesn't just sustain weary travelers, it heals them as well. Applied to wounds, burns, and infections, it cools and soothes like the earth's balm. Walking along an indecipherable trail in an American desert, you can spot these canteens in the distance, dotting the landscape like lampposts on a dark night. There is another species hugging the ground and perfuming dry lands with notes of asphalt and camphor that could be your handy partner in difficult situations. Desert travelers know that sharp, sweet smell that fills the air after a rare rainfall. That's the creosote bush announcing its presence. One of the desert's oldest and toughest survivor, this plant dominates the Mojave, Sonoran, and Chihuahuan deserts, thriving where almost nothing else can. Scientists have found a single creosote ring in the Mojave that's nearly 12,000 years old, a living organism older than the pyramids, older even than human agriculture itself. It has witnessed the Ice Age end, civilizations rise and fall, and still stands rooted in sand. But to survivalists, creosote is more than ancient, it's useful. The leaves contain a resin rich in antibacterial and antifungal compounds. You can crush them into a quick antiseptic wash for wounds, or use dried branches to make a smoke that repels insects. In a pinch, boiling the leaves creates a bitter tea known to settlers and native tribes alike for treating colds, fevers, and nausea. Apache warriors once burned creosote leaves before raids, believing the smoke purified the spirit and sharpened focus. Even Confederate soldiers brewed it as a stimulant during the Civil War, describing it as bitter as turpentine but steadying to the chills. Creosote flats can stretch for miles, but stepping closer to the rocky slopes, one notices the desert alternating its stripes. The palette changes, and a muted but denser plant stands in contrast to the creosote. In the desert, survival often depends on adaptation, and few plants have adapted better than jojoba. With roots that reach deep underground and waxy leaves that lock in moisture, this unassuming shrub has mastered the art of persistence. When the sun bakes the soil and most plants curl up and die, jojoba keeps its green. It can survive more than a century with almost no water, and that longevity has made it one of the desert's most valuable allies, not just for survivalists, but for scientists. During the 1970s, jojoba oil changed the world. When whale oil was banned to protect endangered species, researchers discovered that jojoba produced a nearly identical liquid wax. Industries rushed to plant it across the Southwest and beyond, turning a humble desert shrub into a global commodity. But for bushcraft and primitive skills, jojoba's value is far more immediate. Its seeds can be pressed for a soothing oil that heals cracked skin, burns, and sun damage, conditions that can turn dangerous in arid heat. The waxy coating on the leaves can also be melted down and used to waterproof gear or polish leather. If you find jojoba in the wild, you've found more than a plant. You've found a living toolkit, medicine, moisture barrier, and endurance symbol, all growing out of sand and stone. But when the desert sun fades and the cold night wind begins its slow crawl across the dunes, survival demands something different, not balm or wax, but the power to summon flame. In the stillness of the desert, a distant patch of shade can feel like a mirage until you step beneath the feathery canopy of a mesquite tree. Its twisted branches have sheltered travelers, shaded animals, and fueled countless desert fires. For anyone practicing bushcraft or primitive survival, mesquite is more than a tree, it's a lifeline. Its wood burns long, hot, and clean, perfect for cooking or keeping warm through the freezing desert nights. Indigenous peoples used it to smoke food, build shelters, and craft tools durable enough to last generations. The tree's strength runs deep. Its taproot can stretch more than 150 feet underground, drawing water from depths unreachable to most vegetation. That same strength makes its sweet, protein-rich pods essential desert food. Ground into flour or boiled into syrup, they provided a reliable source of energy when hunting failed and rations ran dry. In times of hardship, mesquite meant sustenance, structure, and survival. But the same toughness that once saved lives later earned it the title of invader, spreading so fast it took over grazing lands and sparked the Mesquite Wars of the early 1900s. Still, its usefulness never faded. It remained the tree that fed fires and families alike. And when the last ember fades, the desert offers another gift. Not food, but water. Not heat, but life, locked behind an armor of thorns and a heart sweet enough to outlast the sun. When the desert offers no mercy and the sun feels like fire from above, salvation can come from a plant that looks as if it were forged from blades. The agave may appear hostile, but inside its armored leaves lies one of nature's most versatile survival resources. For centuries, indigenous peoples of the Americas treated agave as food, medicine, and tool. Beneath its spined exterior hides the piña, that's pineapple in Spanish, a dense heart rich in natural sugars. Slice away the thorns, roast it over coals, and it turns soft and sweet, providing both energy and hydration when your strength begins to fade. When the Spanish arrived, they discovered local tribes fermenting agave sap into pulque, a sacred drink that carried spiritual and social meaning. Later, distillation transformed that same fermented sap into mezcal, a smoky spirit born from survival, fire, and resourcefulness. The same process that once produced emergency sustenance evolved into one of Mexico's most iconic cultural traditions. But in the wild, agave's uses go far beyond the cup. Its sap can soothe burns, treat infections, and seal small wounds. Dried flower stalks become lightweight poles for shelter or spears for hunting, while the fibrous leaves can be stripped into strong cordage. Every part of the agave serves a purpose: its sap for thirst, its flesh for food, its fibers for tools, and its stalk for fire. It's no wonder desert tribes called it the Tree of Miracles, a plant that can feed, heal, and protect in a land built to break you. Far to the east, across ancient trade routes and dunes that swallowed caravans whole, another desert plant offered salvation, not through water or fiber, but through clusters of red fruit that sustained travelers for millennia. Imagine crossing endless dunes where the horizon wavers like molten glass, your throat dry, your steps slow. For travelers on the ancient Silk Road, salvation often came in the form of a small, unassuming shrub, the wolfberry. From the walls of Buddhist monasteries to the edges of oases, its crimson fruit offered a burst of sweetness, nourishment, and hope. Known today as goji, the wolfberry thrives where life seems impossible. It endures searing heat, bitter cold, and soil that kills most crops. Yet when everything else withers, this hardy plant bursts with red berries rich in sugars, antioxidants, and vitamin C, a survival superfood long before the term existed. Nomadic traders and monks would dry the berries for long journeys, using them to stave off exhaustion, sore eyes, and dehydration. The berries could be eaten raw, boiled into tea, or mixed into soups for strength. In Chinese tradition, wolfberry tea became a daily tonic, believed to brighten the eyes and strengthen the liver, wisdom now echoed by modern nutrition science. Even its leaves can be steeped into tea, and its roots used in traditional medicine. Few desert plants pack so much nourishment into such a small form. To the weary traveler, those scarlet berries glinting in the dust weren't just food. They were proof that the harshest places on earth can still offer kindness. Thousands of miles away, across the deserts of the American Southwest, another survivor thrives under a different sun, one that trades sweetness for flame, signaling life and renewal with every storm. In the deserts of the American Southwest, survival often comes disguised as desolation. The Ocotillo looks like a cluster of lifeless whips, dry and brittle, as if scorched beyond recovery. But the moment rain touches the soil, the transformation is almost supernatural. Within 48 hours, its spiny canes burst into green, and scarlet flowers flare at the tips like flames lighting up the horizon. For desert travelers, these fiery blossoms were more than beauty. They were signposts. Against a backdrop of pale sand, they marked water sources and safe passage. The flowers themselves are edible, with a tart sweetness that refreshes and hydrates in the heat. Indigenous tribes brewed them into tea, while the bark and roots were used to soothe coughs and heal wounds. Its canes, when cut and rooted, became living fences, natural barriers that grew stronger with each season. In the language of survival, Ocotillo speaks of renewal. It waits out the dry months in stillness, conserving its strength until the rare moment the desert gives back. For those who understand its rhythm, it's a plant that teaches patience, adaptation, and the quiet art of timing, how to move only when the moment is right. Follow that rhythm downstream and the flame gives way to reflection. The air cools, the sand softens, and where the land gathers water, another kind of abundance takes hold, a plant that provides food, medicine, and the single most vital element for survival, fresh water. When you're lost in dry country, nothing matters more than water, and where cattails grow, water is never far. These reed-like plants grow only where moisture collects, making them one of nature's most reliable survival indicators. But cattails offer far more than a clue to hydration. They're the desert's hidden pantry, a single plant that can feed, heal, and shelter. Beneath the mud, its starchy rhizomes can be roasted like potatoes or ground into flour, rich in calories and carbohydrates. The young shoots can be eaten raw or steamed, tender and slightly sweet, while the pollen can be shaken into fine golden dust, a natural thickener and gluten-free flour substitute. For bushcrafters and primitive survivalists, cattails are a complete toolkit. Their long, fibrous leaves can be woven into mats, baskets, and roofs, while the fluffy seed heads serve as insulation or tinder that catches flame with a single spark. Even the roots, crushed and boiled, produce a paste that soothes burns and insect bites. In short, the cattail is not just food or shelter, it's a system for survival. Wherever it grows, it announces the presence of life. Where cattails thrive, life is abundant. But not every struggle happens under the sun. Journey south, and the heat gives way to mist, where something unexpected blooms in the cold light of winter. Far from the sun-baked dunes in the misty cliffs of southern Brazil, survival takes a different shape. Here, where clouds cling to the mountains and the air hums with rain, The Christmas cactus endures not by fighting heat, but by thriving in shadow. It's not a true desert plant, yet its resilience is remarkable. Clinging to rock faces and tree trunks, it grows as an epiphyte, a plant that draws life from air, humidity, and fallen leaves rather than soil. It has no deep roots, no vast water stores, only a quiet ability to turn scarcity into strength. When European botanists first discovered it in the 1800s, they were astonished. Through patient crossbreeding, horticulturists in Britain created a hybrid that bloomed in midwinter, a living defiance of the season itself. The Christmas cactus became a symbol of perseverance, proof that beauty and survival can exist even in the harshest months. For survivalists, its thick, watery stems can offer trace moisture in emergencies, and its segments can be eaten raw if needed, bland but safe. Yet its real value lies in its lesson. Survival isn't always about resistance. Sometimes it's about flexibility, adapting to whatever nature gives you and still finding a way to bloom. And as our journey nears its end, we return once more to the desert, back to the sun, the sand, and one last lesson in tenacity, born from hunger and hope. In the desert's final test, when food runs dry and even the cacti seem hollow, the banana yucca stands as proof that survival can still taste sweet. Its thick leaves may bristle with daggers, but beneath that armor lies one of the most valuable resources in the Southwest: food, fiber, and fire, all in one plant. For the Apache and Navajo, the banana yucca was far more than a meal. It was a lifeline. The fruits were roasted in earthen pits, the seeds stripped and ground, the pulp pressed into cakes and dried for the lean months. These portable rations became the energy bars of the desert, carried on hunts, migrations, and through seasons of famine. Its usefulness didn't end with its fruit. The roots and leaves, rich in natural saponins, made a foaming soap used for cleaning, purification, and even ritual cleansing before ceremonies. The same fibers were twisted into ropes, sandals, and woven mats, materials tough enough to outlast years of wear. Few plants match its range of uses: nourishment, hygiene, shelter, and spiritual symbolism, all born from the same soil that tries to take life away. For modern survivalists, the banana yucca remains one of the ultimate desert allies, a renewable plant that provides everything essential for endurance and self-reliance. When the land offers nothing else, this is the plant that gives back. The desert may seem empty from a distance, but look closer and you'll see it's alive with answers, a vast pantry, pharmacy, and workshop carved by time and sunlight. Every thorn, pod, and bloom tells a story of adaptation older than civilization itself. Whether it's food, water, medicine, or shelter, these 10 plants prove that survival in the desert isn't about strength, it's about knowledge. To understand them is to see the desert not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Learn their uses, respect their rhythm, and you'll never walk into the wild unprepared. If you enjoyed this exploration, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Stellar Eureka for more stories about nature's hidden genius. And share this video with someone who's ever dreamed of wandering beyond the trail, because survival begins with curiosity. This is Stellar Eureka, signing off.